Motorola Micro Flip Phone for just $99, or this Nokia handheld for just $79.
Nokia.
Come on, birdie, birdie. Tweet, 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 tweet. Ah, yeah!
Mobile phone center. It's for you.
Mobile gaming has definitely come a very long way in the last few years alone. Hopefully one day soon we'll see Guild Wars 2 on mobile as well. Fully playable. How fun would it be sitting on your couch, or maybe while you're dropping the kids off at the pool and filing your paperwork, just playing Guild Wars 2 on your phone. So without further ado, I would like to personally thank ArenaNet for allowing me access to their closed alpha for Guild Wars Mobile, their brand new mobile port for iOS and Android devices. The devs have definitely been in the kitchen and they are absolutely cooking with this mobile design. It's very sleek, very smooth, and very sexy. And with their brand new Radial menu integration, it makes combat and movement very smooth, moving through the combat skills from 1 to 0 and every other function in between. Even in this closed alpha, they've thought of anything and everything anyone would ever need for their mobile experience, because you all have phones, right?
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Okay. That was a joke, and it's a little late for April Fools. There's no such thing as Guild Wars Mobile, and there's absolutely no way to play Guild Wars 2 on mobile. Could you imagine? Like, wow, imagine if you fired up Steam with your Guild Wars 2 account attached. Oh, it's not attached. I wonder what would happen if you go up here to Games and clicked Add Non-Steam Game to my library. Browse the PC, locate where your Guild Wars 2 file are located. For me, I have them saved in my E drive. I click through and then I add the executable. Oh, sweet. Look at that. Now I've got Guild Wars 2 on Steam. But what happens when I click this? Big picture mode. Oh, that's interesting. That looks like a console OS. Is that controller settings for games without controller support with fully remappable keys and buttons? Oh, look, and it fires up Guild Wars 2 like normal. Pretty sweet. If I go onto my phone, open up the Play Store and search for Steam Play, even though it's called Steam Link, and install the app and fire the app up with my PC turned on and having my phone and PC connected to that same 5 GHz Wi-Fi band. Oh, cool, would you look at that? After the setup we get big picture mode. That's what we saw before. What happens if I load up Guild Wars 2 from here? I would probably need a mouse cursor, so on the top left I can activate 2 types of mouse controls, mouse direct cursor or mouse trackpad. I should probably use the mouse trackpad, because I'd probably find that the best way to control the camera in-game. Imagine, Guild Wars 2 on mobile. Now that you've had a little glimpse of Nirvana and there are ideas flushing through your head about where you can now possibly do your daily login rituals, I'll stop you right there. Because your mobile device is connected to your PC, you can't just take it anywhere. Your mobile device and PC need to be connected to the same 5 GHz Wi-Fi band. So, laying down in bed? Yeah, that's good. Sitting on the can? You betcha. How about sitting at the dining table eating breakfast at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because you think sleep is optional? Yeah, that's okay too. Now, we can't be playing this at the gym or outside. Which should be okay, because when was the last time any of us went outside and touched grass? As long as you're in the cozy circumference of your 5 GHz Wi-Fi connection, you can play Guild Wars 2. Now that you're looking at Guild Wars on your phone, your buttons won't do anything. This will be the same for people who want to use controllers too. The controls will be preset to the Xbox controller functions, such as A, B, X, Y, right bumper, left bumper, blah 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 blah. If you're using a controller and have come to this video for me to teach you how to map the controller, pressing the Xbox or PlayStation type majigger button in the middle should bring up the menu. If that doesn't work, good luck and ask ChatGPT or some shit, I don't fucking know. Now, for mobile controls, the top left square button and the Steam icon majigger button in the middle are the only buttons we'll be using to alter the controls. There is an option to import controls that are shared amongst the community, but in my experience, it may make the learning experience harder because we all have different ways of playing our characters, such as using like Q&E for utilities, but I don't actually use those, and then for me, I use Alt 1 through to Alt 5 for the toolbar, but most of you guys use F1 to F5. We all have different keybinds, so using community imported controls might not be the best thing. So import it if you like, but by the way I see it, you'll be altering them yourself anyway. Now, for this example of control setup, I want to show you guys one input to one action functions, movement joystick actions, two input to one action function, and my favorite, radial functions. Let's take a quick moral break. Yeah, morals. So, you'll have noticed I've picked my words there carefully when it came to input and action. Using the Steam Link overlay most definitely sits in the morally dark grey, almost storm cloud grey area of morals, especially when it comes to your terms and services. ArenaNet are very generous, and when it comes to other overlay systems such as using auto hotkey for playing musical instruments, it's pretty morally grey, but in combat, it's a definite no-go. Absolutely not. Now, Blishud for all those cluttered add-on junks that most meta sheep like to seem to enjoy, that's also morally grey. But if you can overlay with AHK, and you can overlay with Blish HD, well, what's not to say you can overlay with, I don't know, Visual Code Studio, and then maybe run like an active Python script. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I don't need to explain what's going on here. The sun is very hot, Icarus, and your wings are coated in kerosene. There is a way with the Steam Link to make one input make two actions, and when that happens in game, you've shifted from dark Stormcloud Grey to dark and charred and falling from the sky because your wings got way too hot. Just please understand that this is definitely uncharted territory, and there's a higher possibility for you, or I for that matter, to get suspended or banned from the game, or worse, expelled. So for one input and one action, we want to set up one button. I'm thinking of setting up the A button. Let's do the A button. So we'll turn the A button into a map. So what I'm going to do is go into the Steam Link controls for controllers, layout controls, and you can see that you can move these around. Now if you go into edit layout, you can now sort of move these wherever you want, which is really, really cool. So you can also put a square around them and throw them out if you don't want the other ones. But we'll just put those on top of the map for now, and we will focus on the A button. A, B, X, and Y. Wait, that's a bit wonky. I'll bring them back. So if you lose any controls and you want to add more, so you need to have keybinds bound to those keys to bring them onto the main map. So layout controls, so ABXY, boom, done. Now we need to map something to the A. So if we go into the Steam controls here, now I'm also in front of my computer as well, so it makes it a bit easier. I can use the actual mouse. So if I click down here, face buttons, it brings up the options for the buttons. So there's button pad. I can change this to a joystick, which I haven't had much success for that working. The directional pad or a radial menu. Now ABXY, let's change the A button. So currently the A1 executes the A function, but it's not the A on the keyboard. It's the A on the Steam controller or the Xbox controller. So to change that, we're going to click here, or if you're just on your mobile, you can just use the functions as if it was a controller. But we're going to change it to M for map, because we're going to make a button for the map. So we'll change it to M. So now anytime you execute the A key, it now executes the M. Now if we push back, see, it is now an M key. You can also change the color and that works. Look at that. Beautiful. Now we can't access this, we can't use anything on it. Well, we can probably use the waypoint here. Okay, that works, but we can't move. But M is now the map key. Now we want to change that, so what we can now do is go back to here, find our M key. Right, when we click this little circle here, we can change it to a number of icons. So you can change it to a gun if you want. There is a map icon somewhere. There it is. And you can also change the color, so we'll change it to a nice hot pink. Oh, we might make the background lime green. Lime green. There's not much of a lime green, but that'll do. And once we come back to here, oh, it didn't set the background, but it made the map. Made the map pink. So let's say we don't want the map button there, we want it off to the side. We can put it there. There we go. There's a map button. One action, one function. While we're here, I'll just make another one. We'll change the B button to right click mouse. So we're on B button, right click mouse. There we go, right click mouse. We'll change the icon to menu, vehicle, utility, input, there we go. I'll make that a nice hot pink as well, just for the sake of the tutorial. Now, there we go. Edit the layout, we'll move her under here. Actually, I'll swap those two around to there. There we go. And they're not lined up, but oh well. XXX. We're going to hit the map. Now we've got the right mouse. When I click it, I can now move the mouse. I can move the map around. Now you can make more buttons. So on my other profile, I've got zoom in, zoom out, which has been quite handy for doing story mode. But there we go. We have right click and we have the mouse function. Right, so that was 1-to-1. Let's set up the joystick controls. I actually set them up before, but I had an issue where I didn't record my mobile screen. So we'll do it all again. Alright, easy peasy. Let's go into the Steam controls. So we're going to go into Steam controls. What we're going to change is we're going to change the left joystick, not the directional pad. So if you see here, I'll go back, the D-pad doesn't actually do anything. When we go, it's because it's set to D-pad up, D-pad down. In the Steam controls, we've got D-pad up, D-pad down, etc. It doesn't work. We're directionals. So we're going to change the left joystick. With the left joystick, we're going to change this from joystick to directional pad. Confusing, I know. Now, I preset it to up, down, left, right. So you can change it to WASD if you'd like, but I have Shift W set to walk law, so it stuffs a few things up when I go to use Shift W. So I use the arrow keys on mobile, but on just like normal computer play, I'd use WASD. It just causes a few issues when you do two inputs to one action. So up, down, left, right. Set them up that way. Down key, up key, up key. Is that right, actually? Up key, down key, left, right, right. Now, back in game, boom. Let's take the layout. So we'll take out the directional pad, and we're going to add in the joystick. Now that should work. Look at that. There we go. Up, right, left, down. Now, the camera's not moving, so we can't change the camera. We need to change the camera some other way. You can program it to one of the other joysticks or the trackpads, but the best way I find is to actually set it to mouse trackpad and actually have a function set for action combat, because we're going to be using action combat, as it's a lot easier than doing it the normal way. Let me find the keybind for action combat. There it is. In camera function, in game, toggle action camera, I've set it to numpad 0 because I don't use numpad 0 for anything. So let's quickly make a button for that. Steam functions, we will change the X button. So X button, keyboard 0, Boom, bing, bum, boom. Drag it down. Oops, that's right, I was playing with it. So put those back over there. That doesn't happen every time. There we go. XXX. Now action cam. Look at that. There we go. Now, because you're in action cam, tapping the screen actually does button 1. So it doesn't do your auto shoot. So if you've set your auto shoot to something different, like I was playing on a thief with double pistols and I set it to 3 to do that super machine gun mode, it doesn't do the auto attack, it just does your number 1. So tapping the screen just does 1. And then push 0 again and we're out of it. And we can click on menus and stuff. Let's do 2 inputs to 1 action. So we're going to go into the Steam menu. We're going to go back into the face buttons here. So go into the face buttons. We're going to scroll down and we're going to use one of these macro buttons. Now these macro buttons aren't on the controller itself, but we can use them on the mobile interface. So we're going to set the first one to shift. So macro button 1 is now set to shift, but we're going to add an extra button. We're going to use a extra command, and that's going to be, let's do R for Raptor, because we're going to make a mounting button, shift R. So we've got macro button 1 set as shift and R. When we do shift R on a keyboard, it's going to do the Raptor, just the Raptor. But if we go into our controls, grab the macro button here and put it down, looks like it's set itself to R. When we click the button we've just made, what actually happens is it does shift R, but it also does R as its own button, so it's going to auto run. So I don't really know how to undo that. That's one thing I'm not sure how to do, is it will always do both at the same time. So instead of pushing shift R, it's just going to do R as an actual button. So shift R, and it does auto run. Radial menus. To do the radial menus, we're going to open up the Steam functions again. Now, you can only do the radial menus in 4 functions. So you can either do it in the joysticks. Since we've got one set to directional operations, we can't actually use that. So we've got 3. So we can use the right joystick as a radial menu. You can make your own radial menu there, or the trackpads. So the right trackpad and the left trackpad. I haven't worked with the center trackpad, but I don't know how to bring up that button and I can't find the button. But right trackpad and left trackpad behavior, I can find that. So we can use the joystick here, but I might just use the trackpads. So let's do the trackpads and let's create a radial menu for, let's do 1 to 5. So these will be our combat functions. Sorry, let me redo that. No. Oh, never mind. So clicking on the cog here, we can now add the radials. So add a virtual. So we're going to do 1, add a virtual, 2, 3, 4, and lastly 5. Now, if we don't want one of these, let's say I don't want one, so remove that one. But we've got the space in the middle we can utilize. So there's a function here, radial menu center button. So we can actually add one into the middle there. And so when we tap the button, it's going to come up with the one we want. So that is the radial setup, basically. Now we've set that to the... That's actually not the radial setup. So we're going to go to General, and we're going to change this to Touch Release. So when you touch it, swipe and release, it's going to activate. Because on click, it'll just be if you click to the side. Maybe you'll like it that way. I find touch release more responsive and a lot better. So let's go back here, back. Let's go in game. and we will add it to the layout, so that's the right trackpad there. We can also resize this here by pinching and squeezing and vice versa. So we've got that there. Let's get out of the setup, and there's our trackpad. Now let's see if this actually works. So we'll go for ability 4. That works. Let's go for ability 3. Now if you don't like where these abilities are, in the radial menu you can actually change which buttons do which. So I've changed them to a different position on my actual character loadout, but I also don't like the radial menu down there. I can't see it down there because that's where my thumb is. So let's change that position. So if we go into the trackpad, which is right here now, so into the cog, let's change the on-screen display. So the on-screen display, we're going to change the settings. Now we can't see on the screen as we're changing the settings, but horizontal and vertical position, let's try that, and we'll see where that ends up being. Oh yeah, let's look to the sky actually, because then we can see it. So, oh, we almost got it. It's in the top left corner there. So maybe I'll like it there, but I want to try and get it more in the middle. So let's change it again. Right, trackpad, cog, where was it? On-screen display. Let's say here. And I kind of liked where it was in the vertical, because it was kind of in the upper corner. So just for sake, I will just make this that. So that's in the top 50, it's in the 50% position, so right in the middle, and then that's in the top 10% position, right near the top. So let's lose that. 50 and 10. Done. Back, 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 back. Alright, let's see it now. Ah, that's right in the Steam. We can kind of see it though, but that's going to annoy me, so let's change it again. We'll change it to 25. And it's easy as that. How's that? Oh, that's nice. But now the Steam logo's out of... I think the Steam logo isn't in position. So that's the 1-to-1 functions. Here's the joypad movement. Here's the 2-to-1, which kind of works. I can't get that one to work quite like I want it to work, but I mean, it'll do for now. And then we got radials. So this was supposed to be my April Fool's video, but obviously things don't go according to plan. But nonetheless, I thought it was a pretty cool thing I found just before April Fool's, and I wanted to make a video on it, but things didn't work out as planned. But anyway, if you like it, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.
Ta-ta! And farewell.
So I guess getting into that.